Buenos
¿Sí,
días,
señor?
sí, señor.
Si me escuchan perfecto, me ven bien, que hoy andamos de estreno, estamos estrenando computador, entonces toca ver si me ven la frente brillar. Bien, vamos a arrancar como siempre en unos minuticos. Vamos a esperar, igual sabemos que siempre somos los 3, 4 únicos conectados, igual esperemos unos minuticos y empezamos, ¿listo? Chicos, mientras se conectan y mientras esperamos, vamos adelantando con este vocabulario. Vamos a tomar apuntes de los verbos, las acciones, las rutinas que ustedes más utilizan o más hacen en su tiempo libre. Let's pay attention to the video, take some notes y arrancamos.
"101 free time activities in English. I watch TV. I watch TV. I listen to music. I listen to music. I paint. I paint. I draw. I draw. I dance. I dance. I fly a kite. I fly a kite. I take photos. I take photos. I spend time with my family. I spend time with my family. I take a nap. I take a nap. I write stories. I write stories. I read a book. I read a book. I read the newspaper. I read the newspaper. I read magazines. I read magazines. I read comics. I read comics. I read news online. I read news online. I watch videos online. I watch videos online. I surf the internet. I surf the internet. I check my social media accounts. I check my social media accounts. I send messages to my friends. I send messages to my friends. I chat with my friends. I chat with my friends. I play cards. I play cards. I play dominoes. I play dominoes. I play Scrabble. I play Scrabble. I play with my dolls. I play with my dolls. I play with my toys. I play with my toys. I play with a frisbee. I play with a frisbee. I play hopscotch. I play hopscotch. I play rock, paper, scissors. I play rock, paper, scissors. I play on a swing. I play on a swing. I play with my dog. I play with my dog. I go to the movies. I go to the cinema. I go to a museum. I go to a museum. I go to the gym. I go to the gym.
So, vamos a iniciar, chicos. Si se dan cuenta, we're going to talk about like the many different kind of activities that we can develop in our free time. When we talk about free time, it is something different from the leisure activities or the daily routine activities. Entonces, vamos a separar estas actividades de las que hacen parte de nuestra rutina diaria, ¿no? La rutina diaria es todas aquellas que hacemos día a día, consciente o inconscientemente, como parte de nuestro diario quehacer, como despertarnos, cepillarnos la boca, bañarnos, trabajar, estudiar. These free time activities are the ones that you do in your free time. Estas son las que hacen cuando les queda tiempo. Ay, cuando les queda un tiempo libre, como ir al parque, pasear el perro, ir al cine, salir, ir por un café, a la biblioteca, al zoológico. Si se dan cuenta, son la mayoría, tienen un verbo en común que es el go o el take o el have, ¿verdad? Entonces, todos estos verbos son parte de ese vocabulario que debemos ir aprendiendo poco a poco. Good? Now, let's have a look to what we are going to work with today. ¿Qué vamos a hacer hoy? ¿Qué vamos a trabajar hoy? Vamos a mirar cómo hablar de nuestra rutina diaria y de las actividades de tiempo libre y qué tantas veces yo hago dichas actividades. So let's pay attention on the PDF and let's start. So today we're going to use simple present to talk about the leisure activity times and to talk about our routines for listening to do on a specific information. So I already told you that a leisure time means the same as free time. You are not in school, you're not at work, you're not doing this as your routine. Okay? So, for example, playing football, riding a bicycle, watching movies, playing video games, painting, playing the instruments, swimming, playing cards, listening to music, dancing, working out. Do you do any of these activities on the weekends? For example, do you play football? ¿Quiénes de ustedes pueden responderme esta pregunta? Do you play football? Yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. Okay, good. What about the others? Do you play any sports? So, for example, Andrea, do you play any sport? Fabian, Valeria, Ashley, do you play any sport? Like, do you play basketball? Do you play any instrument? Instruments, for example, do you play the guitar? Do you play the flute? What kind of activities do you do? ¿Qué tipo de actividades hacen ustedes? Tell me. So who wants to talk about your routine? ¿Quién de ustedes me habla de su rutina? So let's continue working here. Now, let's pay attention to the following question. How often do you do these activities? When we talk about the question, how often, we are counting the times. How many times do you do an action? And for answering this WH question, we are going to use the adverbs of frequency. Entonces, para hablar de estas actividades y de las veces que yo hago algo, utilizo los adverbios de frecuencia. El how often, qué tan frecuente, qué tantas veces hacemos una actividad. So, for the ones who have classes with me in initial class, los que vieron conmigo las clases de inglés inicial, podemos acordarnos de los adverbios, ¿cierto? The adverbs of frequency. Para los que no, vamos a revisarlos. So, what are the adverbs of frequency? We have two different types of adverbs of frequency. Tenemos dos tipos de adverbios de frecuencia. Good. Voy a ponerlos aquí un poquito más hacia la orilla para poder ver el chat mientras les voy escribiendo en el Paint. Have a look. The adverbs of frequency are special words that help us to say the times in which we do our action, right? Entonces estos adverbios nos ayudan a decir qué tantas veces yo hago una actividad, qué tantas veces yo realizo una acción. And according to the type of adverb that we use, de acuerdo al tipo de adverbio que vayamos a utilizar, vamos a identificar que uno es más específico que el otro, que un grupito de adverbios nos dicen más exactamente la frecuencia que otros. So we have two different types. The indefinite adverbs, the definite ones, right? Here. Los adverbios indefinidos son los que nos dicen más o menos una cantidad de veces en la que yo realizo una acción, pero no exactamente algo. Por ejemplo, cuando decimos I always get up, yo siempre me levanto, it doesn't mean that it's gonna be 100% 24/7, right? Sí, nos dice siempre, pero ese siempre no indica que todo el tiempo, todas las veces, las 24/7. Good. Se llaman indefinidos por esta razón. So, as you can notice, these are gonna be those adverbs of frequency. Estos son los adverbios indefinidos de frecuencia. Always, almost always, usually, often, frequently, sometimes, occasionally, rarely, seldom, not very often, hardly ever, never. Todas esas palabritas nos están diciendo más o menos la frecuencia con la que yo realizo algo, más no exactamente cuánto. Good. So, for example, always, 100%, almost always, 90%, right? Vamos viendo que vamos bajando en el escalafón, en el porcentaje de lo más a lo menos. Taking into account this for developing the activities and the frequency, pay attention on something else. Vamos a mirar algo más. Recordemos que los adverbios indefinidos los voy a utilizar generalmente en oraciones positivas, right? Porque ellos me están representando una acción positiva de acuerdo a lo que yo voy haciendo. Y aquí dentro de ellos vamos a clasificarlos en adverbios positivos y adverbios negativos. Y vamos a ver cuáles y cuáles son. So, have a look here. Todos estos are gonna be positive adverbs of frequency because they represent a positive frequency, right? Ellos representan una frecuencia positiva de esa actividad que siempre la hacemos, que usualmente con cierta frecuencia, bastantes veces. Y los de la otra casilla van a ser nuestros negative adverbs, porque están diciendo que esa frecuencia ya es escasa, ya es menor, ya es negativa. First thing to understand, primera cosita a tener en cuenta. The adverbs of frequency, no matter if they are indefinite or definite, they follow certain rules. Let's pay attention to the following video to watch and take notes about what those rules are. Vamos a mirar un pequeño video primero antes de pasar a los definidos para entender cuáles son esas reglitas que debo tener en cuenta al momento de escribir los adverbios indefinidos en una oración. Good. Ya les comenté de una. La mayoría de veces yo escribo estos adverbios en oraciones positivas. ¿Por qué? Porque los positivos representan eso, lo positivo. Y si yo ya quiero expresar una frecuencia negativa, para eso tengo estos adverbios que representan lo opuesto a los de esta casilla. ¿Right? Entonces no necesito decir not always, porque ya para eso tengo la palabra never. No necesito decir almost always, porque para ello tengo el hardly ever, etcétera, etcétera. Cada adverbio de la casilla azul tiene una contraparte en la casilla roja. Entonces, por eso, en general, todos van en oraciones positivas porque si quiero decir un adverbio negativo, tengo uno especial para él, right? So let's pay attention to the video and let's take some notes about how to use the indefinite adverbs of frequency.
Example, I sometimes sing in the shower. Frequency of normally, generally, often, frequently, sometimes, occasionally, seldom, hardly ever, rarely, never. These are all adverbs and they describe how frequently we do an activity or the frequency of habits. These are called adverbs of frequency, or more specifically, adverbs of indefinite frequency. The percentages that appear on the left are only approximate numbers to give you a general.
So take into account that these percentages are just approximate numbers, ¿sí? Todos los adverbios tienen un aproximado de la frecuencia, no podemos decir exactamente que son algo. A los únicos que hemos prestado atención como tal es al often y al sometimes, porque en español estos dos significan casi lo mismo, a veces, de vez en cuando, right? En español tienen un contexto similar. En inglés sí voy a diferenciarlos en que el often es un poquito más frecuente que el sometimes, ¿sí? Entonces cuando decimos, por ejemplo, I often play football, yo a veces juego fútbol. Si escuchan otra oración que dice I sometimes play football, yo a veces juego fútbol, el often está indicando que hay un poquito más de frecuencia que el sometimes, ¿ok? El sometimes sí sería como un cauchito. De la mitad de la semana sí, la otra mitad no. La mitad del día sí, la otra mitad del día no. Mientras que el often ya representa un poquito más de frecuencia que el sometimes.
General idea of the frequency associated with each adverb. When something happens 100% of the time, we use the adverb always. For example, I always brush my teeth at night. This means that without exception, 100% of the time, I will brush my teeth at night before going to bed. What is the opposite of always? Never, which is 0% of the time. For example, vegetarians never eat meat. This means there is a 0% possibility of this happening. The frequency is 0. What adverb do we use when something happens half the time and the other half of the time it doesn't happen? When something has about a 50% frequency of happening, we use the adverb sometimes. For example, I sometimes sing in the shower. This means half the time I'm in the shower, I sing, and half the time I don't sing. I sometimes sing in the shower.
So fíjense ahí con el ejemplo, como dice, la mitad de las veces canto, la otra mitad no. Good, con el sometimes. Y el never, cero, nada, nunca.
What can we use if we almost never do something? It's not 0%, but maybe 5% possibility of it happening. In this case, we use the adverbs hardly ever or rarely. For example, I hardly ever get angry. Or you can say, I rarely get angry. They both mean the same thing. This means there is a very small chance of it happening, but it is almost never. I hardly ever get angry. It usually only happens if you steal my chocolate from the fridge. Other than that, nothing else annoys me. Let's quickly look at the other adverbs of frequency. Usually is when something happens around 90% of the time. It is.
So aquí vamos a saltarnos esa partecita donde nos va explicando las contraposiciones, ¿no? So always, el opuesto es never. Usually o almost always, el que vimos en la gráfica, is the opposite to hardly ever. Normally, generally, to seldom, often, to frequently, to occasionally y el often con el sometimes. Cada uno tiene su opuesto, pero hablamos que always, usually, normally, generally, often, frequently, sometimes son positivos y ya el resto son negativos. Have a look why, ¿por qué es importante esto? Have a look and pay attention.
So, on 80% of the time.
Vamos a saltarnos to the point. So, why this is important? Because when you write a sentence, most of the time you're gonna write it in positive. No matter that the context that you want to express must be negative. ¿Cómo hago entonces para crear una oración en negativo? Utilizo los adverbios que están en negativo. Una oración positiva. Ejemplo. I always have breakfast at 7 a.m. I always have breakfast at 7 a.m. That's a positive sentence, una acción positiva, una oración positiva, porque estoy diciendo que siempre realizo esa actividad, right? Y porque el verbo lo tengo, por supuesto, en positive. ¿Qué? Pero ¿cómo puedo decir esta oración sin necesidad de utilizar el not o el don't, como lo veríamos en esta que les estoy escribiendo? I don't always. I don't always. Esa sería la forma de hacer una oración en negativo. I don't always have breakfast at 7 a.m. Los suspensivos, pero este adverbio de frecuencia me facilita utilizar la negación, pero al decir esa acción en negativo, el porcentaje de efectividad que tiene más o menos el adverbio se va perdiendo, ¿cierto? Porque al decir no siempre, ya estoy diciendo que no es todo el 100% del tiempo. Pierde el valor de la frecuencia y se hace un poco confuso para la gente el entender lo que quiero decir. Con el always, ustedes lo van a poder ver de esa forma, pero con los demás no va a tener sentido lo que estén diciendo. Por ejemplo, ¿qué pasaría si hubiese sido en vez de always el adverbio usually o el adverbio often? I don't often have breakfast. Yo no de vez en cuando desayuno. Yo no usualmente desayuno. In English it sounds weird. En inglés suena raro, se pierde el sentido. Para eso nosotros tenemos un adverbio que contrapone la situación y teniendo una oración positiva como I have breakfast, la convierto en negativo utilizando un adverbio de contexto negativo como lo es la palabra never. ¿Y por qué usé el never? Porque el never es el opuesto del always, ¿verdad? Si yo lo que quiero decir es que nunca desayuno, pues para eso utilizo el never. No voy a decirle a la gente, yo no siempre desayuno, no, yo nunca desayuno. Do you understand? Y fíjense cómo se pierden los contextos. Con el always es 100%, con el never es 0%, pero el don't always no significa que sea el 0% necesariamente. No siempre, puede ser un de vez en cuando, puede ser un rara vez, puede ser un ocasionalmente. No tendríamos un contexto definido para la persona y quedaría como en el aire la situación, right? So, regla, aprendernos todas las oraciones en positivo. Si quiero hablar de una acción en negativo, le pongo algún adverbio de frecuencia negativo y ya con eso la oración se convierte a negativo. Esta de aquí tiene un contexto negativo, negative context. ¿Y por qué contexto? El adverbio es el que representa esa contextualización. Vuelve la oración negativa. Get?
Seldom, hardly ever, rarely, and never all have a negative meaning. Let's look at word order when we use adverbs of frequency. In general.
Siguiente regla. ¿En qué lugar van a ir ubicados los adverbios? Un adverbio, viene la palabra agregado al verbo o pegado al verbo. Quiere decir que las palabritas que son adverbios deben ir junto al verbo. Esa es la regla. ¿Pero cómo? Vamos a tener dos formas. Una es con el verbo to be y la otra con todos los demás verbos, right?
In general, the adverb of frequency goes before the main verb. The order is subject plus adverb plus main verb. Let's look at this sentence. I read in bed at night. If I want to let you know about the frequency I do this, the frequency that I read in bed, then I need to use an adverb. The main verb is read, so we put the adverb before the verb read.
Fíjense, con cualquier verbo diferente al verbo to be, vamos a ubicar el adverbio antes del verbo, así como en español, porque en español digo yo nunca canto, yo siempre duermo, yo a veces trabajo, yo de vez en cuando estudio, rara vez salgo, siempre en español digo el adverbio de frecuencia antes de el verbo. Lo mismo va a ocurrir en inglés con todos menos con el verbo to be.
Often read in bed at night. Another example. Daniel always passes his exams. The main verb is passes, so we put the adverb before it. Daniel always passes his exams. They never speak Spanish in class. The main verb is speak, so the adverb of frequency goes before it. They never speak Spanish in class. When there is an auxiliary verb such as has, have, must, might, will, can, should, would, etc., followed by a main verb, then the adverb goes between them both. Subject plus auxiliary verb.
Bien, aquí esto lo vamos a saltar un poquito, todavía no lo van a ver ustedes en la temática, pero vamos a tener en cuenta lo de los verbos auxiliares. Y estamos hablando solo en este caso del verbo to be. Cuando hablamos del verbo to be, yo debo utilizar el adverbio después del verbo to be. Have a look.
An adverb with the verb to be, then the order is subject plus to be plus adverb. For example, I am busy at work. Am is the form or conjugation of the verb to be, so we put the adverb after it. I am normally busy at work.
So, ojo, con el verbo to be es con el único verbo en donde el adverbio lo voy a ubicar después. Sí, en español suena raro, pero en inglés está la estructura, porque yo en español utilizo con todos los verbos los adverbios al principio. Digo, yo siempre soy una buena persona, yo siempre estoy trabajando, right? En inglés va a ir después del verbo to be. I am normally busy at work. Yo estoy normalmente ocupado en casa, en el trabajo. Yo soy normalmente una buena persona, etc. Good? So take this into account. Entonces, segunda reglita a tener en cuenta. Con el verbo to be los adverbios van después, con todos los demás antes.
We cannot say, I normally am busy at work. No, this is not correct. He is always happy. Again, the adverb is after the form of to be. He is always happy. They are sometimes late. The adverb sometimes comes after the verb are, which is a form of to be. They are sometimes late. We have just seen the common position of adverbs of frequency within a sentence. But it is also possible to put some adverbs at the beginning of a sentence. These adverbs include usually, normally, frequently, generally, occasionally, and sometimes. Look at these examples. Occasionally, I have pancakes for breakfast. Or you can put the adverb between the subject and the main verb.
Now, attention to these verbs. These are, we have usually, normally, frequently, generally, occasionally, and sometimes. Con esta lista de adverbios podemos generar un pequeño cambio en la estructura oracional para no hacerlo tan repetitivo y para hacerlo de otra forma. Yo puedo utilizar solo estos que tienen aquí en la lista, chicos, solo estos, al principio de toda la oración y la gente me va a entender. Pero ojo, solo estos. Por ejemplo, el orden normal sería I occasionally have pancakes for breakfast. Pero yo puedo iniciar la oración con el adverbio diciendo occasionally I have pancakes for breakfast, right? Pero solo los de esta lista.
Occasionally have pancakes for breakfast. Both sentences are correct. Normally, our English class is in the morning. Sometimes they take a bus to work. But be careful with always, hardly ever, seldom, rarely, and never. Do not put them at the beginning of the sentence. No. Always, I get up early is not correct. No. We need to put always before the main verb. I always get up early. That is correct. The exception to this is when we're using always or never in the imperative to give orders or instructions.
Con todos los otros, always, hardly ever, seldom, rarely, and never, el orden debe respetarse, right? Solamente en ciertas situaciones, cuando hablamos del always o never como un comando, como una instrucción, como una orden, es que podemos tenerlo al principio, como por ejemplo, always do your homework. Siempre haz la tarea. Estoy dando una instrucción. No estoy diciendo como las veces en las que debes hacer la tarea, sino dándote una instrucción, una orden. ¿Sí? Solo esos dos, y dependiendo de ese contexto que les estoy dando, que es dar una comanda, una orden, es que puedo verlos ahí al principio. Good?
We will see more about this in another video. I hope you found this video useful. You might want to watch our other video about adverbs of definite frequency. These are a little different. Have an awesome day.
So, that's it, people. Estas son la primera lista de los adverbios que vimos. ¿Sí? Entonces, esas son las dos reglitas que debemos tener presente cuando hablamos con ellos. Vamos a ubicarlos antes de el verbo para todos los verbos diferentes al verbo to be o después del verbo to be. Y generalmente los vamos a utilizar en oraciones positivas. Get? Let's have a look first to one example. Vamos a hacer un ejercicio before continuing. So let's have a look. Any questions so far? ¿Alguna pregunta?
No, señor.
Oh, let's start. Pay attention to the following things. Adverbs of frequency. Where are you? These are. Here you go. You're going to have a look to this number 3 exercise. Vamos a hacer solamente este número 3 acá. Pay attention to the list. Les voy a compartir el enlace para que lo terminen de hacer en casa como un ejercicio autónomo práctico, pero aquí vamos a prestar atención solamente al punto número 3. Good. You're gonna rewrite those sentences using the adverbs of frequency that you have there. Good. Teniendo en cuenta el adverbio que me ponen allí y leyendo la oración, me van a poner el adverbio en el orden correcto. So, who wants to help me? ¿Quién me colabora? Number 1, I'm late for school in the morning. How it goes? ¿Cómo quedaría? I'm late for school in the morning. I am rarely late for school in the morning. Very good. So you say, am rarely late for school. Porque aquí estamos hablando del verbo to be. Very good. I'm rarely late for school in the morning. Number 2, how it goes. ¿Cómo nos quedaría el número 2? Sam goes out with his friends. Sam occasionally, y ojo con este occasionally, recuerden que la doble consonante es la C, no la S. Occasionally goes out with his friends. Now, pay attention on something interesting, people. La terminación ly al final de esas palabras hace que en español traduzca a la terminación mente. Por eso vemos ocasionalmente, frecuentemente. usualmente, usually, occasionally, right? Number 3, Anna serves the net in the evening. Anna serves the net in the evening. And usually serves the net in the evening. Anna usually serves the net in the evening. Good. My best friend takes photos at school. My best friend never takes photos at school. And the last one, they are at home in the evening. They are often at home in the evening. Very good, people. So that's it. These are the normal adverbs of indefinite frequency. Good. Now let's pay attention to another thing. Let's go to the other part, los definite adverbs of frequency. Se llaman adverbios de frecuencia definidos porque ellos sí me van a explicar exactamente las veces en las que yo desarrollo una actividad. Good. So let's have a look on them. When we talk about the expressions like once, twice, from Monday to Saturday, I read my book on weekends, on Saturday night, cuando yo expreso un periodo de tiempo exacto, o digo un día de la semana, una hora exacta, estoy diciendo con exactitud las veces en las que yo realizo esa actividad. So, a estos adverbios son a los que se les llama adverbios definidos de frecuencia. Let's have a look how we are going to use them. Vamos a echarle un vistazo a cómo se manejan en inglés. But this first I'm going to find out the picture to leave it here. There we go. This is the picture. I'm gonna leave it, paste it here. Where is it? So, y ahorita les explico la imagen. Let's have a look to the video. Pay attention really close to the video. Take some notes. Have a look how this is going to be developed.
How often means with what frequency. I want to know the frequency you do something. Often can be pronounced two ways, by pronouncing the T, often, or by not pronouncing the T, often. Both forms are correct and depend on where you live. So we can say, how often or how often. An example is, how often do you brush your teeth? Or, how often do you brush your teeth? This means I want to know the frequency that you brush your teeth. When someone asks you a question with how often, you normally respond with an adverb of definite frequency. This means it has a definite or exact frequency. And how can we express this? We use the following structure: number plus times plus a plus a time period. We say 3 times a month, 4 times a year. But there is an exception to this rule with the first two numbers. We do not say 1 time. No, we say once. And we don't say 2 times. No, we say twice. So it is once a day, twice a week, 3 times a month, 4 times a year. Notice how the time period is a single noun. Day.
So here, guys, piensen cómo acá ya estoy hablando de un número exacto de veces en las que yo hago algo. A ese número de veces le tengo unas palabritas especiales cuando hablo de una vez y 2 veces. Yo quiero decir que es una sola vez que yo realizo algo, digo la palabra once. 2 veces la palabra twice. Y de ahí, del número 3 en adelante, la cantidad de veces que ustedes escriban o hagan la actividad, van a decir el número más la palabrita times. 3 times, 3 veces. 7 times, 7 veces, etcétera, etcétera. Ahora, a ese número de veces yo puedo especificarle un periodo de tiempo, es decir, una vez al día, una vez a la semana, una vez al segundo, una vez al minuto, una vez a la hora, una vez al año, etcétera, etcétera. Este periodo de tiempo lo voy a pegar al número de veces con el artículo a, y el periodo de tiempo va a ir en singular. Ojo, en singular. ¿Good? Porque pasa igual que en español, le digo una vez al día, una vez a la semana, no, a las semanas, una vez a los años, no, una vez al año, right? Entonces, este es un adverbio definido de frecuencia porque sí me dice la cantidad exacta de veces en las que yo hago esa actividad. Yo voy al médico 2 veces al año, solo 2 veces realizo esa acción. ¿Good?
Day, not days. Week, not weeks. Some examples. He has lunch with his mother once a week. She visits the dentist twice a year. I brush my teeth 3 times a day. Mike goes to the gym 4 times a week. And visits the dentist twice a year.
Profe, el micrófono.
Thank you. Bien, les estaba comentando que los adverbios definidos de frecuencia no se ubican ni antes ni después del verbo. Los vamos a ubicar antes o después de la oración. Entonces, como en el ejemplo, he has lunch with his mother once a week, piensen que el adverbio lo pusieron allí después de la oración. Yo también puedo empezar la oración con él, once a week, pero en este caso yo voy a escribir una comita después de haber usado ese adverbio y ahí sí ubico la oración. Once a week, coma, he has lunch with his mother. Entonces, esta es una pequeña diferencia respecto a los adverbios indefinidos, right? Con los adverbios indefinidos yo tenía que el adverbio va inmediatamente pegado al verbo, antes o después. Pero con los definidos yo puedo utilizar el adverbio antes, seguido de una coma, o puedo utilizarlo después de la oración sin ningún símbolo de puntuación. Right? So, another example. She visits the dentist twice a year. Twice a year, coma, she visits the dentist. Es muy importante que cuando inicien con el adverbio y frecuencia, pongan la comita. Pongan la comita porque es una pausa que hacemos en la estructura de la oración. Good. Now, I brush my teeth 3 times a day. 3 times a day, comma, I brush my teeth. Mike goes to the gym 4 times a week. 4 times a week, Mike goes to the gym. Period. Good. So, estos adverbios son más sencillos y nos están hablando exactamente del número de veces en que yo realizo una actividad. Vamos a mirar el otro paquetico.
I brush my teeth 3 times a day. Mike goes to the gym 4 times a week. Another common way of expressing frequency is by using every plus a time period. Note that this time period is a singular noun. Every day, every week, every month, every year. There's no plural s at the end of these words. Instead of saying every day, you can say daily. Be careful with the spelling of this word. And of course, you can say weekly and monthly too. With the word year, it is a lot more common to say annually instead of yearly. Look at these examples. We can say we pay our mortgage every month, or we pay our mortgage monthly. The zoo is open every day, or the zoo is open daily. I call her daily to make sure she is fine. The subscription needs to be paid annually, which means every year.
Now tenemos la expresión every. Every tiene en su contexto el significado todos, todos. Right? Al ladito de la palabra every, yo voy a poner cualquier periodo de tiempo de los que ya sabemos. Segundo, minuto, día, hora, semana, mes, año. Pero esta palabrita va a ir en singular. Y ojo acá con esto. Ojo con ese detallito. Every ya significa todos. Ya dentro de su significado está lo plural. Entonces la palabra del periodo de tiempo no la vamos a decir. Y otra vez el micrófono se me apagó. Chicos, les estaba explicando. La palabrita every, ¿qué escuchar? Dígame qué escucharon.
Que every es el plural.
¿Quedaron hasta el plural? Bien, les decía que la palabrita every significa todos, ¿sí? Que habla de todo el tiempo, es como el gemelo de always. El every va a ir acompañado de cualquiera de los periodos de tiempo que ya sabemos, desde el segundo hasta el año, siglo, décadas, etc. Pero esta palabra de periodo de tiempo la escribimos y la pronunciamos en singular. Nunca vayan a decir every days, every weeks, every months, every years, porque está mal. Ya la palabrita every tiene el significado de plural. Entonces no necesitamos pluralizar el periodo de tiempo. Entonces al decir every day ya traduce todos los días. Every month, todos los meses. Otro detalle a tener pendiente es que generalmente la palabra la gente la escribe pegada y la palabra debe ir separada. Every espacio day, every espacio week, and so on. Good. Cuando nosotros decimos every day, todos los días, every week, todas las semanas, estamos diciendo que son todas, todas son todas. También tenemos una forma diferente de decir esta expresión, que son las que ven en pantalla. En vez de decir todos los días, pues yo digo diariamente. En vez de decir todas las semanas, semanalmente. Todos los meses, mensualmente. Todos los años, anualmente. Right? So, esta es otra forma también de poder decir este mismo paquete de adverbios definidos que estamos viendo. Good. Y al igual que los que vimos anteriormente, también los puedo escribir al principio o al final de las oraciones en cuenta el uso de la coma. Good. Entonces yo puedo decir we pay our mortgage every month o every month, coma, we pay our mortgage. Right? Entonces acá está el segundo paquetico de adverbios de frecuencia. El de la palabrita every, que me dice todas las veces, todos los días, todos los años. Good.
Another possibility is using every plus a number plus a time period, which in this case is a plural noun. Every 2 days, every 3 weeks, every 4 months. Some examples. There is a leap day every 4 years. February 29th is a leap day. I have to take 1 tablet every 8 hours for my craziness. The magazine is published every 2 weeks. In British English, a period of 2 weeks is known as a fortnight. The magazine is published every fortnight.
Esta palabra de every también tiene una variante. Cuando yo le pongo un número en medio del every y el periodo de tiempo, ya no va a significar más todos, todos los días, todas las semanas, todos los meses. Ahora va a tener el significado de cada tantos días, cada tantas semanas, cada tantos minutos, cada tantos meses. La palabrita every toma el significado cada cuando especificamos un número exacto de veces en medio de la palabra every y el periodo de tiempo. Y ahora acá, chicos, como si estoy diciendo un número exacto de veces, el periodo de tiempo debe ir en plural. ¿Sí? Porque acá ya estoy diciendo cada 2 días, cada 3 semanas, cada 4 meses. Entonces, mucho cuidado con esto. Cuando veamos un número, ese número ya me obliga a mí a que el periodo de tiempo vaya en plural. ¿Right? Y ya no estoy diciendo que son todas las veces, sino cada tantas veces. Get it? So, for example, there is a leap day every 4 years. Ese leap day es como un día libre, ¿vale? Como un día feriado, como un día, no mentiras. Ese es como lo del año bisiesto. Good. I have to take 1 tablet every 8 hours. Debo tomarme una pastilla cada 8 horas. Good. Y la misma situación que vimos anteriormente. Yo puedo iniciar con el adverbio de frecuencia la oración seguida de una coma o como lo están viendo en la pantalla. Good. Y cualquiera de las dos va a tener el mismo sentido. Right. Siempre me pega la imagen que no es esta. Now, hay un pequeño detallito referente al contexto entre el americano y lo británico. Cuando ustedes vean la palabra Fortnite como el videojuego, solo que el videojuego creo que es con E, Fortnite, en británico eso quiere significar cada 2 semanas. Right? So, the magazine is published fortnight. Eso significaría la revista es publicada every 2 weeks. Eso es lo que vendría siendo el significado de toda esa palabrita. 2 weeks. 2 semanas. ¿Good? Para que la tengan en cuenta.
Let's practice. Answer the following questions about your life using adverbs of frequency. How often do you wash your hair?
A ver, ¿quién me regala una oración con esta pregunta? How often do you wash your hair? How often do you wash your hair? So this question. People, how often do you wash your hair? So, I wash my hair daily. Muy bien. Very good. Next question. Vamos a ver la siguiente pregunta. Next question. How often do you go to the dentist? How often do you go to the dentist? ¿No van al dentista? Oh Dios. So I never go to the dentist. Next question.
How often do you eat fast food?
How often do you eat fast food? How often do you eat fast food? Eso es imposible. A ver, tell me. Fabián, how often do you eat fast food? I eat fast food monthly. Muy bien, ojo, la palabra month termina en th, right? So people, period, eso es todo. Take into account, tengan en cuenta muy bien la diferencia entre los adverbios definidos y los indefinidos al momento de hablar de la rutina diaria, de las actividades diarias, de las actividades de tiempo libre. Good. That's it. Now, vamos a guardar esto para ponérselos allá. And let's pay attention to the next presentation. When do you? We're going to start putting into practice everything that we have learned so far. So we're going to use present simple and frequency adverbs to talk about our routines and to talk about everything in our daily lives. Good? So taking into account what we learned, teniendo en cuenta lo que vimos de la rutina diaria, de las actividades de tiempo libre y los adverbios de frecuencia, vamos a tomarnos 5 minuticos antes de continuar para que cada uno de ustedes me regale la rutina de ustedes, incluyendo su rutina diaria y las cosas que hacen en el tiempo libre. Right? So, tell me something, un pequeño párrafo, 10 oraciones, incluyendo indefinite and definite adverbs. Entonces vamos a hacer eso mientras yo voy por agua y los leo. So, chicos, ready? So, los leo. Ashley, Valeria, Fabián, Andrea, tell me. I read you, I listen to you. No more, Fabián. I usually get up at 6 o'clock. And then I go to sleep again. Y luego me vuelvo a dormir. And the rest, I generally get up at 8 a.m. Bueno, es de 8 a 9 te levantas. O sea, te despiertas a las 8, a las 8:30 sacas un pie de la cama, a las 9 el otro pie. Esas 2 horas que hay, Valeria. I occasionally eat bread in the morning. I almost always make bed in the morning. Okay. What else? ¿Qué más? So, pay attention to the following video ya para terminar la sesión de hoy. Fue algo supremamente cortico. Vamos a revisar el siguiente video de cómo realizar una descripción de la rutina de ustedes, cómo aplicar los adverbios de frecuencia y el present simple for talking about your daily routines. So let's pay attention to the video, take some notes, porque con base en ello van a hacerlo ustedes. Have a look.
Hi, I'm Marie. Welcome to Oxford Online English. In this lesson, you'll learn how to talk about your daily routine in English.
What do you do every day? What's a typical day like for you? In this class, you'll learn everything you need to talk about your daily routine, including work, free time, meals, and sleep habits.
Before we start, we really think you should visit our website, oxfordonlineenglish.com.
Si están escuchando el video, chicos, ¿me escuchan a mí? Si están escuchando bien el video, ¿listo? Bien.
Buenas tardes.
Hello.
Buenas tardes. Me activo acá con el Google, el celular. Have a look.
You can find all of our free English lessons, including videos and listening lessons. You can also take online classes with one of our professional teachers.
Let's start by looking at how you can talk about your everyday working routine.
You're working freelance now, right?
Yeah, that's right. I've been doing it for about 6 months now.
That must be nice. You can work from home, you don't have to deal with bad bosses.
Yeah, it has its pluses, but it's not all fun and games. Obviously, my work is more flexible, but I still have to be disciplined and make sure I stick to a schedule.
So, what's your working day like?
I like to get an early start, so I get up at 8 and I work from 8:30 to around midday. Then I take a long lunch break, maybe go to the gym or something like that. Then I do another 3 or 4 hours in the evening, so I finish at 7 or 8.
That's quite a late finish.
Yeah, but it suits me. I get sleepy in the afternoon, so it's not the best time for work.
That sounds much nicer than working a regular job. I have to get up at 6:30, then my commute takes around an hour, so I have to leave the house at 6:30 at the latest. I'm at the office from 8:30 till 5:30 or 6. Then I don't get home until 7 at the earliest.
I have to say, working at home has some disadvantages, but I don't miss commuting every day.
No, you shouldn't. It sucks.
Do you work the same hours every day?
More or less. Sometimes I stay late if there's something I need to finish, but I try to leave on time. Otherwise, I don't get any time at home before I go to bed.
Here are some questions for you based on the dialogue. What's your working day like? What time do you start and finish? Do you often work long hours? Do you take any breaks during the day? Let's see how you could answer questions like these.
So pay attention to the most common questions that we can have, like what's your working day like? ¿Cómo es tu día laboral? Or what's your studying day like? ¿Cómo es tu día de estudios? What time do you start and what time do you finish? ¿A qué horas inicias? ¿A qué horas terminas? How often, no mentira, do you often work long hours? ¿O do you often study long hours? ¿Frecuentemente trabajan o estudian muchas horas? Do you take any breaks during the day? ¿Toman descansos durante el día? So how would you answer then?
Let's start with something easy. What time do you start and finish? You could say something like, I start work at 9 and I finish at 5. Maybe you have a more flexible schedule. You might say, I'm a freelancer, so I work different hours every day. It depends what I have to do. If you're busy, you could say things like, I often have to stay late at work. I finish at 7 o'clock at the earliest. I can only take a short lunch break.
If you have a more relaxed working day, you might say, I take a long break in the afternoon. I usually finish work by 5:30 at the latest. I never stay late or do overtime. The phrases at the earliest and at the latest are useful if you want to talk about extremes. Otherwise, use adverbs like often or usually.
What about you? What's your working day like? Try to make 2 to 3 sentences talking about your working routine.
So, a ver, chicos, what is your working day like? Or what is your studying day like? ¿Cómo es su día de labores o su día de estudios? Try to use 1, 2 or 3 sentences. Trate de usar 2 o 3 oraciones hablando de esa rutina. Tell me. How is it? ¿Cómo es? A ver, los leo. Valeria, Ashley, Andrea, what is your studying day like? Or what is your working day like? ¿Cómo es ese día de labores? ¿Cómo es ese día de estudios? How is your routine? For example, I start my work day. I always start my work day at 7 a.m. and I always finish at 4 p.m. I usually have lunch at 12 and every 2 days I finish work at 6 p.m. Tell me, what about you? ¿Qué hay de ustedes? Tell me. Let's continue.
If you need to, you can review the dialogue to get some ideas for language you can use. Pause the video and make your answer now. Practice saying it out loud. How is that? Let's look at our next point.
So, what do you do in the evenings after work?
Honestly, most days I'm so tired when I get home that I just crash on the sofa and watch TV. I don't like it, but I don't have the energy to do much else. I play tennis on Wednesdays, but that's it.
I know the feeling. It's hard to motivate yourself when you've been at work all day.
What about you?
I'm the opposite. I'm stuck at home all day, so when I'm free, I'm desperate to get out of the house, do some exercise, talk to people. I try to arrange something most evenings.
What kind of thing do you do?
Lots of stuff. I've started going to a boxing class twice a week. I also play basketball with a group of friends every Thursday. Then I'll generally go out with friends for a coffee or a drink on 1 or 2 evenings too.
Wow, you're pretty busy.
Yeah, but I prefer it that way.
I'm more active on weekends, but during the work week, there just isn't the time.
Here's a question. What do you do in the evenings after work? Are you active? Do you like going out and doing lots of different things? Or do you prefer to stay at home and relax? If you're more active, you could say something like, I like to get out of the house when I can. I try to arrange something most evenings. I prefer to stay busy.
If you prefer staying at home, you might say, I don't have the energy to do much after work. I just crash on the sofa and watch TV when I get home. During the work week, there just isn't the time to do much. It's also useful to say how often you do things. Here you can use adverbs like often, generally, sometimes, or occasionally. You can also use time phrases like once a week, on Wednesdays, or every Friday.
For example, I go out with friends once a week. I go to the bouldering gym on Wednesdays. I generally go running around the park after I get home.
So, fíjense ahora que para hablar de la rutina diaria en relación con el tiempo libre, podemos especificar ese tiempo libre, lo que hacemos en él, con adverbios de frecuencia definidos o expresiones de tiempo exacta, como I go out with my friends once a week. I go to the bouldering gym on Wednesdays. I generally go running around the park after I get home.
What about you? What do you do after work? If you don't work, or if you have a different schedule, what do you do with your free time during the day? As usual, try to make 2 to 3 sentences about yourself. Use the language from this section to help you. Pause the video and do it now. Okay, let's move on.
So, do you cook? I mean, you're at home all day, so you must have time.
Yeah, my meal habits are all over the place though.
What do you mean?
Sometimes I skip meals, or I eat at weird times. I might eat dinner at 7:30, or I might not eat until 11. It depends what I'm doing and how hungry I am.
That's the exact opposite of my situation. I have to eat at the same time every day, because that's the only time I have free.
What do you do for lunch?
If I'm organized, I'll cook at the weekends so I can take food with me to work. Otherwise, I'll buy a sandwich or something from the bakery.
What about in the evenings?
Me and my boyfriend take turns cooking. Then, we generally get a takeaway on Friday evening if we are home.
That's a good system. It's hard to motivate yourself to cook when you live alone. I try though, because I don't want to waste money on takeaways and eating out. So I'll cook a big batch of something, then freeze it and eat it for several days.
Here are some questions from the dialogue which you should be able to answer by the end of this section. Do you cook? What do you do for lunch? Do you eat at the same times every day?
Think about how you could answer these. But first, let's look at some more phrases you heard in the dialogue. Do you know what they mean? My meal habits are all over the place. Sometimes I skip meals. I'll cook a big batch of something, then freeze it. Can you explain what these sentences mean?
If you say something is all over the place, this means that there's no pattern. So if your meal habits are all over the place, it means you don't eat regular meals at regular times every day. If you skip a meal, then you don't eat it. If you're busy during the day, you might have to skip lunch. That means you don't eat anything for lunch. Finally, if you cook a big batch of something, then you cook a lot at one time. You might do this if you live alone, or if you're busy so that you can freeze the extra food and eat it later.
What about you? Do you sometimes skip meals? Do you buy lunch or cook at home and take food to work? Do you ever get takeaways in the evening? Make at least 3 sentences and talk about your cooking and eating habits. Make more sentences if you can. Practice by saying your sentences out loud several times until you can produce them fluently. Remember that all the language you need is in the dialogue. Go back and review the dialogue if you need some more ideas. Pause the video and make your answer now. How was that? Could you make a fluent answer? Take more time to practice if you need. Let's look at one more thing. If you could choose, what working hours would you do?
Is no hours an option?
Just imagine you're working freelance like me, and you can set your own timetable. Would you still start early?
No way. I'm a total night owl. That's one of the reasons I'm so jealous of you. I really struggle to get moving early in the morning.
You see, I'm not exactly a morning person either, but I like to get some stuff finished early in the day. It helps me to feel more productive. Then sometimes I take a nap in the afternoon because I often go to bed quite late.
I stay up late on weekends, but during the week, I'm in bed by 11. If I don't get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, I find it hard to focus at work.
7 or 8? I don't think I sleep that much.
Why? What time do you usually go to bed?
Around 1.
1? That's late.
Yes and no. I don't have to get up so early, so I can still get a good night's sleep.
In the dialogue, we were talking about sleeping habits. Here's a question. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
So, esta expresión se utiliza muchísimo en inglés para referirnos a las personas que son madrugadoras o las personas que prefieren trabajar de noche. Hay morning person, los madrugadores. A night owl, un búho nocturno, las personas que prefieren trabajar de noche o que son más activas en la noche.
If you haven't guessed, a night owl is someone who likes staying up late at night, but probably isn't good at getting up early in the mornings. Here are some questions for you to think about. What time do you usually get up or go to sleep? Do you find it easy to get up early in the mornings? How much sleep do you need every day?
Look at some useful language from the dialogue which you could use. Think about what these sentences mean. I really struggle to get moving in the morning. I stay up late on weekends. Sometimes I take a nap in the afternoon. Could you explain the meaning of these clearly? If you struggle to get moving in the morning, it means it's difficult to get out of bed because you have no energy. If you're a night owl, you'll probably struggle to get moving in the morning. If you stay up late, you go to bed late. Taking a nap means that you have a short sleep during the daytime.
So, ojo con estas cuando hablamos de hábitos de dormir, right? A really struggle es cuando se nos dificulta muchísimo, ¿okay? Bien sea para dormir o para despertarnos, como en el ejemplo, I really struggle to get moving in the morning, se me dificulta mucho moverme en el día, me da pereza, sueño, porque soy un night owl, porque soy un búho nocturno, una persona que más disfruta estar activo en la noche. I stay up late, permanezco hasta tarde en el día, entre la semana, los fines de semana. Sometimes I take a nap. Me echo una siestica, después de almorzar que uno se echa un sueñito, ese es take a nap, right? So people, everything about this video is really important for you to develop the fluency in the speaking part. Es muy importante que tengan presente este video para que ayuden a desarrollar su parte oral. Good. Y esto en referencia a las rutinas, a cómo hablamos de el free time activities and the daily routine activities and how to mix up when talking about the frequency, how often, cuánto tiempo o qué tanta frecuencia, con qué frecuencia realizo una actividad. People, this is everything for today. We're going to have a look to the homework. Vamos a mirar la tarea que tenemos para esta semana. Es una sola tareita. Felicitaciones a los que van súper bien, los que van al día. No se atrasen en las actividades. Ojo, vayan allí al día. 5 questions. Van a tener un audio y ese audio son 5 preguntitas de verdadero o falso. Súper fácil. Deben escuchar muy bien porque en el audio van a hablar sobre la rutina de esta persona, el free time activities, las actividades de tiempo libre y las veces en las que desarrollan esta actividad, right? So listen the audio carefully. You have 2 opportunities and the score is gonna be the highest. La nota es la más alta, tienen 2 intentos y también está abierta hasta el 3 de octubre. Good people, so that is everything for today. Eso es todo para hoy. Thank you so much for coming as always. Gracias por los 4 fieles de siempre, mis 4 best. And see you around. Nos vemos la próxima semana. Recuerden que tienen tutorías el día de mañana de 7 a 9 de la mañana. Los que tengan oportunidad, los que puedan, los que tengan dudas acerca de las temáticas se pueden conectar en el enlace de tutorías que tienen ahí en la pestaña de foros. Ahí en foros encuentran la pestaña de tutorías. Bye bye.
Gracias, profe. Hasta luego.
Goodbye, people.
Miguel, el coordinador me llamó, me preguntaba que me decía que él era nuevo, ¿no?
tiene por semestre. Sí. Lo único que yo le puedo colaborar a su merced diciéndole qué asignatura pertenece a qué semestre, pero debe tener en cuenta que hay muchos estudiantes que están desnivelados. Y entonces ya se debe mirar.
Pero la gente que Rafael va a estar nueva, porque esta niña
Y él es de derecho, pero él nunca fue coordinador. El coordinador siempre fue Montenegro. ¿Te acuerdas que la jefe siempre hablaba del doctor Montenegro, el doctor Montenegro? Y él era el director de Derecho de Bogotá. Y él era el que estaba manejando eso. ¡Ay! Esta oferta, con ese correo que pásaselo al doctor Wilker. El doctor Wilker es el que está manejando Derecho acá en Bucaramanga. Ese se me ha pasado. ¿Qué necesita la Wilker? Ah, Wilkercillo. Él es el que está con lo de derecho, ¿cierto? Sí. Sí. Wilder Jesse Borges, sí, el secretario general.
no, ese video se lo pongo aquí arriba, así lo que vean.
Way to start a conversation in English or to find things in common when you're speaking to somebody. Hello, I'm Ollie. Welcome to Oxford Online English. In this lesson, you can learn about how to talk about your free time and hobbies in English. What do you like doing in your free time? Do you have any interesting hobbies? Talking about your free time is a great way to start a conversation in English or to find things in common when you're speaking to somebody. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to speak clearly and naturally about your free time and your hobbies in English. Part 1. Free time and hobbies vocabulary. What words do you know for free time activities in English? Some people prefer things you can do at home, like watching TV, reading, or cooking. Other people like sports, like playing football, playing basketball, playing tennis, going swimming, going jogging, or going climbing, or maybe doing boxing, doing judo, or doing yoga. Of course, many people prefer more social activities. For example, hanging out with your friends, relaxing with your family, or going shopping. Or maybe you like to do something more creative, like taking photos, painting, or writing stories, or writing a blog. What about you? What kind of free time activities do you prefer? Let's look at how you can talk about free time activities and hobbies which you like. Part 2. What do you like doing? In my free time, I like... What could you say here? In my free time, I like playing basketball. In my free time, I like relaxing with my family. In my free time, I like reading books.
Can you see a pattern here? In every sentence, after like, we use a verb plus ing. Can you make a sentence? What do you like doing in your free time? But just using like can be repetitive and boring. So what other verbs can you use? Well, you could use verbs like love, enjoy, or hate. For example, I love going swimming. I enjoy watching TV. I hate going shopping. Can you see the same pattern? After all of these verbs, you need to use a verb with ing. You can also add words like really, sometimes, or absolutely to make your meaning stronger or weaker. For example, I really like taking photos. Sometimes I enjoy going jogging. I absolutely hate playing football. Now it's your turn. What can you say? Can you make your own sentences? Okay, so now you can say something about what you like or don't like doing. Let's look at how you can add more details to your ideas. First, let's say how often you do your free time activity. For example, I like playing sport. I play football every Tuesday evening. I absolutely hate going shopping. I only go shopping once or twice a year. I really like taking photos, but I don't get the chance to do it often. What about you? How often do you do your hobbies? You can use these phrases to help you talk. Every, for example, every weekend, every Saturday afternoon, every day, once or twice for example, once a week, twice a month, 3 times a year, and so on. Can you make some sentences like this about your free time and hobbies? How often do you do your hobbies? Next, let's add some details about where you do your hobby or free time activity. For example, I like playing sport. I play football every Tuesday evening at the park near my house. I enjoy having coffee with my friends. We go to a cafe in the city center once or twice a week. I really like taking wildlife photos in the forest, but I don't get the chance to do it often. You can see that our answers are getting more detailed. When you speak, you should always try to add some details to your ideas like this. It will make your English sound more interesting and more natural. What about you? Can you add some details like these to your sentences? Pause the video, practice, try to make some sentences, say them out loud. Practice a little bit. Okay, next, let's look at giving background information. Especially if you have an interesting or an unusual hobby, you could talk about when and why you started doing it. For example, I started playing tennis when I was 10. I've been learning to paint for 6 months now. I decided to do yoga because I wanted to be healthy. My French friend got me into climbing. In the last sentence, the phrase, my friend got me into something, means that your friend introduced this activity to you and now you like it. What can you say about your hobby? Can you use some of these phrases to talk about yourself? For example, I started climbing when I was living in Russia. I've been climbing for about 8 years. I also recently decided to do yoga because I wanted to be more flexible. When I was younger, my dad got me into photography. What about you? What are your examples? Finally, let's look at how you can add some descriptive words to say why you do or don't enjoy something. For example, I like climbing because it's really exciting. I love doing yoga because it's so relaxing. I really like writing stories because it's creative and I like using my imagination. You can also use negative adjectives to talk about things you don't like. For example, I don't like going jogging because it's tiring. I hate watching TV because I find it boring. I've been trying to learn to paint, but it's too hard. Why do you like your hobbies? What are some activities you don't like doing? Can you say why you don't like them? Try to make some sentences and practice using this language. Okay, now it's your turn to speak. Let's try using everything we've looked at to make a longer answer. For example, I really like playing tennis. I play every weekend at the park near my house. Sometimes I play with my brother or sometimes with a friend. My brother got me into it because he loves sports and he needed someone to play with. I didn't like it at first because it was hard and I lost all the time. But now I enjoy it, especially when I beat my brother. Okay, let's do one more sample answer. I love taking photos. Once or twice a month, I go to different areas of the city and look for interesting pictures to take. I've been interested in photography since I was young, when my dad got me a camera for my birthday. I like it because it's creative and I can express myself through my pictures. Anyone can use a camera, but you need to use your imagination to find good pictures. Now, can you talk about your free time? What do you like doing? Where do you go and how often? When did you start doing this hobby and why? And why do you like or perhaps dislike this activity? Try to talk for at least 30 seconds. Give lots of details. Add details to make your answer more interesting. Okay, that's the end of the lesson. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you learned something about how to talk about your free time in English. You can see more free lessons on our website, oxfordonlineenglish.com. But that's all. Thanks again. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Gina. Welcome to Oxford Online English. Where do you live? Do you live in a small town?